Good morning. I am here out for a hike in beautiful Coldwater Canyon in Hollywood, and thought I would record my take on this new rate limit controversy happening right now on Twitter, with Elon Musk limiting Twitter access to 6,000 and now 8,000 tweets per day for verified users and 600 to 800 for non-verified. And I'm going to sort of address this issue from the perspective of the censorship industry, because it's a really fascinating thing that Musk just did with wide-ranging implications for the science of censorship. So for those who've been following me and Foundation for Freedom Online for some time, you know that AI censorship is where all of the magic happens. You know, the Twitter files showed how the FBI might come in and get 22 tweets censored. But AI was how EIP and other type of third-party censorship groups were able to get 22 million tweets censored. So the order of it's that's 6 orders of magnitude, right? It's a completely different animal. You could not censor the internet before 2016 at the kind of scale that you do now, because you have AI censorship models. That is, there's a AI censorship Death Star that has been under construction and innovation and renovation, every week, every month, every year for the past 6-7 years now. And it all relies on massive scraping of Twitter data in order to build these models and databases to track trending narratives, to systematically surveil and build sort of intelligence dossiers, and to track and to turn down all at once communities online, political communities, social or public health communities, any climate communities. You name it. Whatever the sensitive policy issue of the day is, you can use this massive Twitter scraping capacity to ingest everyone's tweets and then disambiguate out all of the words that they're using, the hashtags, the themes, the memes, and to build this sort of code book of online communities that can then be used for mass censorship, that is used for mass censorship. So a good example of this is, how did EIP end up getting 22 million tweets classified as information? Well, first, they didn't flag 22 million by hand. This was something that Mehdi Hasan, the MSNBC host, flagrantly deceived his millions of viewers about. When he said, they only flagged 3,000, not 22 million, hardy, so you're only off by 21.7 million. No, you butthead. Actually, what happened was they used AI to designate 22 million because they scraped 859 million tweets to build their AI model, of which they said 22 million constituted misinformation, okay? So yeah, the 3,000 was just the tip of the 22 million iceberg, because back in the Twitter iteration before today, these third-party censorship consortiums could just mass ingest hundreds of millions of tweets all at once in order to build these vast censorship models in order to control all of public conversation all at once. Now, look, at that time, they also had captured the trust and safety teams at Twitter. So it was very easy for them to build that model and then, basically target those 22 million tweets and all the, hundreds of thousands of accounts, and have those be automatically throttled because they were controlling the actual enforcement arms as well. It's unclear if that continues to be the case, but the fact is that Twitter is by far and away the intelligence agency, the State Department, the Defense Department, and the NGO-plex social media platform par excellence. They much prefer the intel they can scrape from Twitter than from any other social media company, and there's good reason for this. I guess other than LinkedIn, I'd say, and they would say. And part of that is because of Twitter is not a walled garden like Facebook. Facebook is also a social media platform, obviously, but it's most private accounts you can only access if you are friends with that person or friends of a friend. Twitter did not have that. And YouTube there's a giant divide between producers and consumers. Consumers on YouTube are not content creators. That's not the case on Twitter. Every Twitter user is a content creator when they click the retweet button. And so you can map real-time narrative emergence on Twitter in a way that you can't do on any other social media platform. And that has been used by the CIA, the State Department, the Defense Department, hundreds of censorship, government-funded NGOs, centers, nonprofits, foundations, university, quote-unquote, research centers, and the works. It's in order to build their social media censorship Death Star, they need to be able to scrape hundreds of millions of tweets. And what Musk is doing here is very interesting because on the one hand, you could argue it's a sort of kind of form of, I wouldn't say censorship necessarily, because it's not like a particular person is singled out, but you are limiting the openness of the internet by doing this. But on the other hand, you are actually potentially preserving the openness of the internet by preventing the construction of this censorship Death Star that is getting more and more refined every day and is being funded by your tax dollars to the tunes of tens of millions from DARPA and the National Science Foundation, to say nothing of all the State Department and USAID and National Endowment for Democracy grants. So it's all very interesting. That is just one thing to keep in mind, on top of the fact that this is obviously going to be a revenue generator for Musk as he sees it, in the sense that he drew a distinction between verified accounts and unverified accounts, where you can sort of have normal Twitter if you've got a verified account, because that 8,000 rate limit is pretty substantial, but 800 is not a lot, and so it highly incentivizes people to get, very verified accounts. So obviously I'm not sure that Elon Musk is doing this to throttle the AI censorship Death Star constructed out of the censorship industry. He may just be doing this for cynical business reasons, in order to pump up the subscription base, or a privacy reason independent of censorship. But whether he knows it or not, there are going to be hundreds of censorship operatives housed within the university research centers this week, howling at the moon that this is an attack on democracy for Musk to limit their access, because it has been, for years now, it has been a big bugaboo of all of the university censorship operatives who cloak themselves as so-called researchers, when what they are is they're operatives, that if they lose access to the underlying data on which their AI censorship models are built, then they will not be able to do their jobs as effective, fast, precise, and comprehensive social media censors. So they've been having a big fight about this exact issue in Europe, because of Europe's GDPR laws, their data privacy laws, and other sovereign European state restrictions on third-party access to social media user-level data. And so they've tried to get around that by having certain journalists and researchers, a sort of designated privileged class, to get, so that only they can be sort of the trusted keepers of this information that used to be public but now is not. So the fact that Musk is doing this now here and in the United States, you are going to see the censorship industry howl over this, whether Musk knows it or not. He has stepped on a rattlesnake, and we'll see how it plays out. But I am very curious to see how the rattlesnake reacts to this new boot. And in a weird way, even though the boot may be cutting off some amount of openness of Twitter, it may also represent in some way the boot of freedom. So we'll see.